Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. We XRP holders deserve the victory that was bestowed upon us, handed on down from Judge Torres in the SEC v. Ripple case. But you know, after the lawsuit initiated at the end of 2020, it didn't take me long to start staying on my channel. Obviously, this is a huge problem. Really hoping for the best here, but I'm also worried about the rest of the cryptocurrencies that I hold, because even though XRP is my largest individual crypto holding and my favorite cryptocurrency, so yes, I'm biased, but even though that's the case, I do hold close to 30 different cryptocurrencies, and I know that the vast majority of you out there are not one coin holders. There's a small percentage of our community that will only hold XRP, but that's almost nobody. Most of us hold multiple cryptocurrencies. And so I stated, what about the rest of the coins that I hold and you hold? Shouldn't we be worried about that as well? So yes, now XRP is safe. It's the only large cap coin on the planet that has legal clarity in the United States. And that's fantastic. And I feel great, huge burden lifted from my personal perspective, and I'm sure yours as well, because now we don't have to worry about that. But what about everything else? Because since then, the SEC has claimed that a number of coins, I don't know if it's a dozen or two at this point, I haven't been thoroughly keeping track, but it's a lot. They've named a number of coins that they're stating are, just by the nature of existing, are securities, including some that I hold, like, for instance, Algorand and Dash, just to name a couple off the top of my head. And so there are other coins that I hold that are getting attacked, and I'm sure other coins that you hold that are also still under threat from Kim Jong-Gensler and his awful regime. So the fight's not over. But you know what? With what's happened in the SEC v. Ripple case, it's, even if it's not binding precedent in certain ways, it certainly seems to be the case that I'm going to prove to you, I'll show you it's the case. Congress is reacting and in a very positive way to the SEC v. Ripple news, and we're getting closer to actually getting a bill passed. Now, I'm still, I don't even want to say I'm cautiously optimistic. I mean, that would be taken a little bit too far. I'm not so sure that this is ultimately going to get passed, because there's a bill that's progressing in the House. And by the way, it started as a Republican bill. It's receiving at this point bipartisan report, which is just kind of like brain explode. That's actually happening to any degree. Bipartisan support. That's fantastic. But the way that the United States system works is, even if it passes the House, then it's got to pass the Senate, and then it's got to get signed into law by the president. The president can veto it, and if the president vetoes it, then it goes back to Congress, and then I can't remember the exact percentage, but it has to get a certain amount of support, and then you can ultimately override the president. It's a whole thing, but it's a step in the right direction. So I'm going to share with you where we're at right now, and I'm going to call out the good players in Congress and the bad actors as well, who have just nonsense, bogus ideas. And also, by the way, Attorney John Deaton, he publicly stated that he would like to testify at a congressional hearing. I would love to see that happen, because he said he wants to do it on behalf of 75,000 plus XRP holders and 4,000 plus Coinbase customers. But before going further and sharing additional thoughts and details about what's going on here, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so here's the headline from Cointelegraph. Crypto bills pass congressional committee in huge win for U.S. crypto. So folks, I do believe that ultimately what needs to be done shall be done. It's just a really messy process to get to where we need to be, but it gives me additional confidence that the rest of the coins that I hold ultimately are not going to suffer some sort of draconian fate that is completely unreasonable, unfair, and outside the confines of law. And this is also more than just a tacit admission that there is not sufficient legal clarity, despite what Kim Jong-Gensler will say about, oh, just come on in and register. Everything's very, very clear. Well, Congress disagrees, as evidenced by the fact that they're taking action. Anyway, piece reads as follows. A key United States House panel has approved a pair of bills that could finally deliver some regulatory clarity to crypto firms, including clarifying the differences in jurisdiction between the U.S. securities and commodities regulators. Whoa, 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 wait a minute. Kim Jong-Gensler, he said it's very clear. What do you mean? What do you need to clarify here? It's super duper clear, right? Difference between regulators, SEC versus... It's very clear where all this belongs, right? Obviously not. Then they wrote, on July 26th, the majority of U.S. lawmakers voted in favor of the Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act, that's a mouthful, as well as the Blockchain Regulatory Certainty Act. The House Financial Services Committee approved the Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act, oh, it just rolls off the tongue, and a 35-15 vote, which would establish rules for crypto firms on when to register with either the Commodity Futures Trading Commission or the Securities and Exchange Commission. The Republican bill also outlines a process for firms to certify with the SEC that their projects are adequately decentralized, allowing them to register digital assets as digital commodities with the CFTC. Now, upon first reading that, I found that very fascinating because that just made me think of the Billy Boy Hinman Ethereum Free Pass speech when he was talking about decentralization being a factor of whether or not something is or is not a security, which isn't technically part of the Howey test, but as I've noted a number of times over the years, that when you're analyzing individual transactions, that factor does play into this idea of whether or not because look, if there's something that's completely controlled and completely centralized, it's easier to satisfy that argument of there being a common enterprise. But if it's sufficiently decentralized, that's much more difficult unless you're talking about specific transactions. Which because look, you could have Bitcoin or chinchillas or beavers and all those things have been declared securities in transactions. The transactions using those assets have been. So it's not about the asset, but it's just so fascinating that we're going back to 2018, and that's actually not unreasonable. I don't find that to be unreasonable in the least. So if something is sufficiently decentralized, you already know, obviously, the asset itself can't be. And it's just interesting that they are going back to that after all of these years here, don't you think? So, it goes back to, and again, all of this just proves the fact that Congress is moving forward with this. It flies in the face of what Kim Jong-un's are saying about all this supposed regulatory clarity. Yeah, it doesn't exist. Now, the current administration in the United States has been very anti-crypto. Now, that doesn't mean everybody in that party, in the Democrat Party, it doesn't mean that all of them are anti-crypto. And so, being that this is a non-political channel, I will only talk about things that are political insofar as it pertains specifically to finance and or crypto. Because, if we're talking about those things, now you're stepping on my turf, son. So, yeah, absolutely, I'll opine on stuff like that. But happy to call out the good actors and bad actors on both sides, because for me, it's not about, since this is not a political channel, it's not about the politics of the parties just in general. It's about the good actors and the bad actors. It's the pro-crypto individuals and the proponents who are not so pro-crypto, anti-crypto. And so here you have this account on X, formerly known as Twitter, because of the rebranding from Elon Musk. This is the U.S. House Committee on Financial Services. This is a Democrat X account, and they are very anti-crypto. They wrote the following: the Republican Market Structure Bill, otherwise known as the Not Fit for the 21st Century Act, which is not what it's known as. They were not there because there's some silly goof that is a rushed piece of legislation that, and then they have 4 bullet points here. Number 1, lacks adequate funding. 2, creates more confusion and complexities. 3, hamstrings efforts to go after bad actors. And 4, lets crypto criminals off the hook. Who's falling for this? Is there anybody listening to this video that's like, yeah, that's right. This is going to let criminals off the hook. And it's going to create confusion and complexity because Kim Jong-un, he says that there already is clarity. Hamstrings efforts to go after bad actors. Bitch, what your problem is? It doesn't do a damn thing. Providing this bill passing it will not handcuff the SEC in terms of going after bad actors. They're just saying stuff because there's just the vomiting the mouth words here. But who's falling for this? You have to be a low IQ individual or completely unaware of the specifics of what's happening in crypto to find this remotely compelling. This is not persuasive. And so here you have Austin Campbell, managing partner of Zero Knowledge Consulting. He retweeted that and wrote the following, which resonated with me. He said, "It is worth noting that the SEC failed to stop or impede any of Mt. Gox, Terraform Labs, Celsius, BlockFi, or FTX, but have inexplicably gone after Library, Coinbase, and XRP, none of whom have committed fraud or deliberately damaged consumers. This stance by the Democrats is not credible." Golf clap for Austin Campbell, everybody. Spot on. Isn't it funny how they don't catch the actual bad actors? And then they're talking about, oh, if we provide clarity, then our hands are gonna be tied. No! Little punk-ass bitches. That don't make no damn sense. Here you have John Deaton's crypto law organization shared the following. And this is as things were progressing earlier in the day. The House of Representatives is marking up a regulatory framework for digital assets right now in the Financial Services Committee. This would not be happening today without the efforts of so many retail token holders who have made their voices heard. You share in this moment. Now that I firmly agree on, because Attorney John Deaton played a crucial role in the SEC v. Ripple case. And as evidenced by what Judge Torres wrote, and I don't want to rehash that. I've covered all the specifics and the cues you can take from obviously what you wrote. Heavily persuaded by what happened as a result of John Deaton representing over 75,000 XRP holders, and also all of the amicus briefs. So broadly, people in crypto helped as well. So credit where it's due, most certainly. So there's that, but that means that our community, that's you listening. You're what made this possible, because after this major success, this is what has prompted Congress to quickly get into gear and start moving in this direction, and it's resulted in more support even on the Democrat side. I think it's pretty clear to see here. And so here you have the tweet from Financial Services GOP account on X. They wrote, "Passed. In a historic first, the House Financial Services Committee just passed the bipartisan Fit for the 21st Century Act to protect consumers and provide clear rules of the road for the digital asset ecosystem." Well, hallelujah! Never thought I'd see it. Now, of course, again, there's a lot more work to be done, but it does seem to be going in the right direction. Then you had this from Cody Carbone, who is the Vice President of Policy at the Chamber of Digital Commerce. And Cody wrote this: Six Democrats on the House Financial Services Committee joined all Republicans in passing the Fit for the 21st Century Act market structure bill out of committee. By a vote of 35 to 15, the bill will now go to the House floor. A massive day for digital asset regulatory clarity. And so again, this is amazing with the current administration, Biden administration, being so anti-crypto. These six brave souls going against the grain here, regardless of that fact. And so again, like I always say, credit where it's due. And I don't need to read all the names are on your screen right here, including Representative Torres. I highlighted him recently in a video because he went out of his way to write that letter. This may be ringing a bell now. Right, he wrote a letter to Kim Jong-Gensler, and he didn't really ask for anything specifically, but he was just kind of rubbing it in the face of Kim Jong-Gensler that you lost the SEC v. Ripple case. I loved it, so I highlighted the whole damn thing on my channel. It was glorious. It was a very tasty. So there's that. And then somebody named Eugene wrote to Cody here and said, how bipartisan is six? Because again, it's just six. There are obviously a lot more Democrats. But hey, it's not nothing. Well, Cody wrote, it's a pretty loud rebuke of the ranking member for six to oppose her. I also think we will see several Democrats in House AG tomorrow support the bill, so it is a fairly significant coalition forming. So there you go. Despite they're going against the party line of we are anti-crypto. I'd love to see it. Credit where it's due. Absolutely. And by the way, that's actually Representative Torres on your screen. No relation, as far as I know, to Judge Annalisa Torres. Just happens to have the same last name. And he shared a quote from part of what he had to say. I'm not going to share the whole thing. Obviously, one for 5 minutes. But he said, quote, and this was shared by Paul Graywall, Chief Legal Officer at Coinbase, quote, I find myself unpersuaded that the status quo is working. My assessment is that the status quo is dangerously deregulated and requires regulation, end quote. Then there was this from attorney Jason Gottlieb, who is increasingly becoming well-known in the world of crypto. And he wrote the following: I make no secret about being on the Democrat side of the aisle. I truly believe in the progressive case for crypto. Tip of that hat to these Democrats for seeing the future of digital assets. And so he's referencing the six that did come on board and joined the Republican bill. And he also wrote, and to my fellow Democrats in Congress who are wondering whether crypto is truly progressive, I'm happy to talk and show how smart new digital assets regulation is vital for progressive goals like consumer protection, equal opportunity, community power, and technical development. And so, look, I firmly believe that when it comes to crypto, this should not be some sort of partisan situation. And this is increasingly becoming, as you can see now, bipartisan. Good. So I just hope that additional Democrats won't just toe the party line of crypto bad and illegal and help scammers, this and that. It's bogus, it's nonsense. And the thing is, they must know that. The ones that are putting these lies out, they must know that what they are saying is not true. It's I can't remember the exact stats, but I think it's substantially less than 1% of transactions when it comes to crypto are used for illicit purposes. So compare that to illicit purposes used, when it comes to like the dollar. There is no comparison. And so Attorney John Deaton actually retweeted that from Attorney Jason Gottlieb and wrote, "One of the best things about the 75,000 XRP holders who joined together is the diversity. Republicans, Democrats, independents, progressives, conservatives, capitalists, socialists, libertarians, etc. Crypto should be a bipartisan issue. When it appeared to me that the incumbent party, the Democrats, were adopting an anti-crypto agenda led by Senator Elizabeth Warren and Gary Gensler, I said it was a mistake and extremely disappointing. Today's 6 Democrats voting as they did is a big deal and a significant blow to the Warren/Gensler anti-crypto campaign. There's a long way to go, but cracks like this, especially on the eve of an election year, can lead to the dam breaking." That's spot on, Attorney Dean. And again, if I could just say it one more time, and I can because it's my channel, damn it, and I do what I want. If not for the SEC Ripple ruling that we're seeing, I'm not convinced that we'd be seeing these types of developments. I really don't think so. But I think it made it crystal clear, now that what Judge Torres said, it's the law of the land, it made it very clear that this is so far outside the scope of what the SEC has been arguing that if the SEC is wrong, there must be a substantial need for regulatory clarity, and blazing forward. And it's specifically because of what has happened with Ripple and with XRP in our community had a dramatic effect, a dramatic impact, absolutely, impacting Congress now. So go ahead and pat yourself on the back. It's well-deserved. Then there's this from the Crypto Basics. Senator Loomis, Ripple decision reinforced need for Congress to create regulation for crypto. And so Senator Loomis, Republican, I've not been so thrilled with her for much of the last couple years. She's been very on the surface pro-crypto, but it seemed to me more like pretty much just pro-Bitcoin, and that's about it. She's come off as a maximalist on a number of occasions, and I've highlighted that on my channel over the last couple years or so. But she seems to have come around, and she's publicly spoken out. It was the day of or the day after the SEC v. Ripple decision came out, and she put out an official statement applauding that decision, which I was somewhat surprised by given the stuff that she has said in the past, but was happy to see it. So I'll be supportive of these comments that are coming from her. I am, but I'm going to keep a close eye on her because I'm not really happy with the history of what she has said as it pertains to crypto, broadly speaking. So just keep an eye on her. And she wrote the following. The Ripple decision has reinforced the need for Congress to create a regulatory structure for crypto assets. And then she talks about her bill here. Loomis-Gillibrand is the comprehensive bipartisan bill that protects consumers while allowing the industry to continue to drive the innovation our economy needs. Okay, and so that's a separate bill from the Senate, obviously. And at least on the surface, it seems like it's going in the right direction. I've already talked about that in other videos, so not to delve in. But I also want her record to be known, so I responded to her, and I wrote the following. I'm glad to see your thinking has progressed compared to this past December when you said, quote, it's starting to look more like Bitcoin is the only thing that would qualify as a commodity, end quote. And so I just don't want the history to get away. It's not just to throw her under the bus. It's because I want to warn people, hey, here's this person saying these great things that we give on a scale of 1 to 10, 2 thumbs up of, talking about the Ripple decision. Sure, absolutely. But I highlighted this because my stance is great. Support that because she's saying the right stuff now. Let's watch how she acts, though. Just keep a close eye. That's all I'm saying. And that quote, it's from a CoinDesk article. I'm not going to pull it for the purpose of this video. I promise I'm telling the truth. The link is right there. You can go to my profile if you really want. or Google the title that's on your screen right now. It'll come right on up, and you can check it for yourself right there. She did say that, and that was in December of last year. It's been less than a year, and she went from, looks like only Bitcoin is a commodity, nothing else. So everything else is security, I guess, right? She's saying way different stuff now. So hopefully she believes it. I'm just saying that's a rapid turn without any explanation as to why. I've seen zero explanation as to why she's now saying different stuff. Zero. And then I also wrote, your partner, Senator Gillibrand, said this in June 2022. Quote, most cryptocurrencies go to the SEC. Bitcoin and Ether would be certainly commodities, and that's agreed upon. That's agreed with Chairman Gensler as well as the chairman of the CFTC, end quote. Okay, so again, Gillibrand, Senator Gillibrand, that's part of the Loomis-Gillibrand legislation that they're trying to put forth here. So Senator Loomis is working with this other senator, and she's saying it looks like not just pretty much Bitcoin and Ether stay if everything else security. And I've highlighted other video clips from her where she's been saying stuff along that lines as well. And I did share the article where this was cited, and I think it was, I'm pulling from memory, I think it might have been like June or July of last year where that was stated. It doesn't matter. You can pull it up yourself. And I then wrote, so to see you and Senator Gillibrand do a 180 after publicly saying that only Bitcoin is a commodity and pretty much everything else is an illegal security offering is nice to see. And I did mean that when I wrote that. I'm just telling you separately here on my channel, keep an eye on her. Watch how they actually act moving forward. Because that's a complete 180 with no explanation of why they're changing their tune. No explanation whatsoever. I mean, it just makes me wonder, okay, did you just see the writing on the wall? This isn't what you actually wanted, but now you're seeing the SEC v. Ripple decision. You see that what you want isn't actually going to come to pass because the asset itself is not a security, and now you're just going to, go with the flow. Maybe. I don't know. They need to say for themselves. I don't know. And then there was this from the Crypto Basic. SEC v. Ripple. Congressman Sherman slams Judge Torres' ruling, says it's ridiculous. So here's another congressman that we have got to call out here. And Eleanor Turret of Fox Business shared this news as well and said that Brad Sherman calls the Ripple outcome ridiculous, criticizing the judge's ruling that XRP is sometimes a security and sometimes not. And that's a quote, sometimes a security and sometimes not. That's literally not what he said. This guy is so disingenuous. This congressman from California. It is very clear that XRP was declared to not be a security. I've articulated why so many times I don't really feel like repeating it right here. This guy has to know this. But he's been anti-crypto historically, very anti-crypto. And he's one of these idiots that keeps talking about, oh, the illicit blah, 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 this and that. I don't know who falls for this. I mean, who is the 10 IQ human that is falling for this? I don't see it. And hilariously, and I was like, this is tasty, like another tasty morsel from what happened as a result of all these developments here. He doesn't even know the name Satoshi Nakamoto. As shared by the X account, Watcher Guru wrote, just in, U.S. Congressman says Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto was not innovative. Yeah, that Satoshi Nakamoto created that Bitcoin. Freaking idiot. Who was it that said Bitcoin? Was that Maxine Waters? I think that was Maxine Waters. She called Bitcoin Bitcoin. These people are in charge. They're in charge of the rules of the road. They're in charge of you're passing bills and all this. And we got Satoshi Nakamoto and Bitcom. For the love of God, man. Come on. Sweet dare, Bobby Jesus. And then there's also this one from the Crypto Basic. U.S. Congressman claims SEC won Ripple lawsuit. Deaton reacts. And so here it's Congressman Lynch claims the SEC and Gary Gensler won the Ripple case. So this is a complete and utter denial of reality. Now, fine, technically on paper, if you want to say it's a split decision, you're making an accurate statement. But everybody knows what was at the core of this, and the only thing that really, 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 really mattered was whether or not XRP itself is a security. That's it. That is it. That's the core thing. And the SEC lost on that. And here you got this little asshat trotting himself out here. Oh, the SEC won and Gary Gensler shot the bass. I imagine that's what he sounds like anyway. And so you have Attorney Deaton writing the following. He tagged people in Congress here and wrote, FYI, I would love to have an opportunity to testify on behalf of individual retail holders. I represent 75,000 XRP holders and over 4,000 Coinbase customers. After all, shouldn't facts and truth matter during these hearings? Now that I would love to see. I would love to see Attorney John Deaton representing us and the Coinbase customers testifying at a congressional hearing. I would absolutely love that. And it's just so amazing, like, who has done more than John Deaton when it comes to pushing back against the SEC? I mean, we've all played our roles and we've all worked together as a community, but my gosh, in terms of actually taking, and he did this on his own dime. He wasn't funded by anyone. He lost money doing this, and his time, but he just did it because he's got the fire in his belly. He's got the drive, and I couldn't be more appreciative. And I know I'm speaking for everybody that's listening. It's just the coolest damn thing here. But he's not done. He's still going. You gotta love this. I'll go ahead and wrap up here. You guys let me know what you think, but I'm feeling good about this. So again, like I said at the outset, for a long time, I've been worried about not just XRP. Well, now I'm not worried about XRP, but I've been worried also about the rest of the coins that I hold, which are still under assault. We need this clarity. And so with the current administration, I'm still skeptical when it comes to, even if it went well in the House ultimately, what happens in the Senate? What happens if it gets in front of Biden? They're anti-crypto. You need a different administration if you want to solve this. That's what it looks like. But I'll just go ahead and wrap up here. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.